Today was the 8th day since I first found the stray mother cat and her 5 newborn kittens beneath the tree on the hillside. And it was also their 2nd day living safely inside my home. Honestly, when I woke up this morning, the first thing I thought about was the little cat family sleeping in the next room. For the past week, every day had been filled with worry. Would the kittens survive the cold? Would the mother cat find enough food? Would they still be alive when I returned the next morning? But today felt different. For the first time, they were no longer outside under a broken bamboo basket on the hillside. They were indoors. Warm. Safe. And somehow, that alone made the entire house feel quieter and more peaceful. Before checking on them, I prepared fresh food for the mother cat again. Today I brought salmon puree, chicken puree, milk, and cat food for her. After everything she had gone through outside, I wanted her to finally eat properly and regain her strength. When I slowly opened the door to the room, I immediately saw the kittens sleeping together in a soft pile beside their mother. The room was quiet except for the tiny sounds of the kittens breathing and moving in their sleep. The mother cat lifted her head the moment she noticed me. But unlike the first few days, she didn't look frightened anymore. Instead, she simply watched me calmly from inside the white plastic basket. That small change still amazes me. Only a week ago, she could barely trust me enough to eat nearby outside on the hillside. Now she was resting indoors with her babies only a few feet away from me. Little by little, she was beginning to understand that she was finally safe. As I stepped closer, the kittens immediately started squirming around when they heard movement. Their eyes were slowly opening more now. Not fully yet, but enough to reveal tiny sleepy faces looking around the room for the first time. One kitten stretched its tiny paws into the air while another crawled clumsily over its siblings before falling sideways into the blanket. Watching them grow even slightly stronger every day makes me happier than I expected. The mother cat carefully stood up and stretched her body slowly before stepping out of the basket. She still looked thin, but compared to the first day I found her, there was already a small difference. Her movements seemed less desperate now. Less exhausted. I placed the salmon puree onto a plate near her, and the moment she smelled it, she immediately walked closer. Today, she didn't hesitate at all before eating. No fear. No nervous pacing. She simply started eating quietly while occasionally glancing back at her kittens. That moment honestly felt emotional to me. Because survival outside had clearly forced her to stay alert every second of the day. Even while eating, she used to look terrified something might happen to her babies. But now, inside the room, she finally seemed able to relax while having a full meal. The kittens slowly began crawling toward her while she ate. Their movements were still slow and clumsy, but much stronger than before. One tiny kitten somehow managed to crawl completely out of the blanket and directly toward the food bowl. Of course, it immediately slipped and rolled sideways halfway there. I couldn't help laughing quietly. The mother cat looked at the kitten for 1 second before gently pulling it back closer using her paw. Even something as simple as that felt incredibly sweet to watch. She was constantly paying attention to every tiny movement her babies made. After finishing the salmon puree, she moved to the chicken puree next. Today she ate more calmly than I had ever seen before. Not desperately. Not rushed. Just peacefully. And honestly, seeing the difference made me realize how much stress she must have been carrying while living outside. No animal should have to raise newborn babies in a dangerous place without food or shelter. While she continued eating, I quietly changed the blankets inside the basket to keep everything clean and warm for the kittens. The kittens were unbelievably tiny up close. Their ears were still small and folded slightly. Their paws looked almost too tiny to support them. And their little squeaking cries still sounded fragile. But despite their size, they were already becoming more curious about the world around them. One kitten kept trying to climb over the others repeatedly. Another one crawled directly toward my hand and then fell asleep halfway there. Moments like these make the difficult parts completely worth it. The mother cat eventually finished eating and walked back toward the basket again. As soon as she lay down, all 5 kittens immediately crawled toward her stomach searching for milk. The room became quiet again except for tiny nursing sounds and soft purring from the mother cat. That soft purring surprised me again today. The first day I found her, she looked terrified of everything around her. Now she was purring quietly indoors beside her babies. It's amazing how much an animal can change once it finally feels safe. I sat quietly nearby for a long time just watching them. Honestly, I still can't believe how quickly this little family became such an important part of my life. 8 days ago, they were complete strangers hidden beneath a tree on a lonely hillside. Now every kitten feels familiar to me. I already notice their different personalities. One kitten is always the loudest. One always sleeps deeply. One constantly crawls away from the others. And the mother cat herself has changed so much too. She still stays close to her babies constantly, but there's less fear in her eyes now. Sometimes she even watches me quietly while resting instead of immediately becoming tense. That trust feels incredibly meaningful. Because stray animals survive by distrusting everything. And for a mother cat protecting newborn kittens, learning to trust again takes enormous courage. After some time, I poured fresh cat food into another bowl for her and added clean water nearby. The mother cat walked over calmly and continued eating while the kittens slept against each other in the basket. The sunlight from the window slowly filled the room, making the entire scene feel warm and peaceful. Looking at them today, it's hard to believe they spent only yesterday outside on the cold hillside. The contrast feels enormous. No more wind blowing through the grass. No more fear of rain or predators. No more sleeping beneath a broken bamboo basket outside. Now they finally have warmth and stability. At one point, while I sat near the basket quietly, the mother cat slowly walked closer to me and stopped beside my leg. She looked up at me for a few seconds. Then gently rubbed her head against my hand before walking back to her kittens again. It was such a small gesture. But honestly, it nearly made me emotional. Because trust from a stray animal feels deeply genuine. There's no pretending. No expectation. If they trust you, it's because they truly feel safe around you. And after everything this mother cat had been through, that trust meant a lot to me. The kittens eventually fell asleep again after nursing. One was sleeping upside down against its siblings. Another had its tiny paw stretched across the mother cat's face. And the mother cat simply closed her eyes and rested quietly beside them. For the first time since I found them, this little family finally looked peaceful. Not just surviving. Actually resting. That difference means everything. I know there's still a long way to go before the kittens grow strong and healthy. They still need constant care, warmth, and feeding. But today felt like an important moment. A new beginning for this tiny family. And honestly, every time I look at them sleeping safely together inside the room, I feel grateful that I decided to stop beside that tree on the hillside 8 days ago. Because one small decision completely changed their lives. And somehow, it changed mine a little too.